This one or the next one, or the two hardest? Yeah. All right. So let's talk about it. Nearest neighbor. How do we do the nearest neighbor routine? So it's kind of confusing, isn't it? Like these different techniques of how you do things. So let me try to be real clear. So we have 3 different techniques. We have nearest neighbor, which we're going to do right now. I'll walk through all of this with you. Nearest neighbor. And then we have repetitive nearest neighbor. And then we have cheapest link. Cheapest link. Okay. And so they're all a little different. Well, the first 2 are very similar. So those are the 3. Those are all really, that really is the first chapter, whatever it's called, chapter 6. That'll be half the exam, like maybe more than half the exam will be just those 3 techniques. So you can get those down, you've helped yourself a lot. So let me mention, I think the start is kind of confusing for people. So and I think if you can kind of get moving in the right direction, you'll flow just fine. So let me kind of push you in the right direction. Nearest neighbor, you start where they tell you to start. So you start where they tell you. Cheapest link, you start anywhere lowest number in the whole map. Does that make sense? That just the very first step is different on those 2 methods. I think that might help just to say that really clearly. So on nearest neighbor, you start, like they'll tell you, they'll say, hey, start at Memphis or start at Atlanta or whatever. They have to tell you. So with nearest neighbor, they'll tell you where to start. Whereas with cheapest link, you start anywhere on the map and just look for the lowest number anywhere in the entire map. Is the difference between those. And then the repetitive nearest neighbor is you repeat. Yeah, let me just put it that way. It's why it's got that name. You repeat, starting at every city. So you repeat it. That's the tedious one. You got to start at A, start at B, start at C, start at D, or in this case it'd be start at Atlanta and Dallas and Denver, and you got to do them all.
There's no way around that either.
Yeah, there's no way around that. It's just terrible. I won't give you any more than 2, I promise, on those. Because those are long. So, yeah. All right, so does everybody get the basic idea? Yeah.
And on this one, it's mandatory, right? It's going to be that we're going to have the cheapest link, right? On one of the questions.
Oh, there'll probably be like 2 cheapest link, probably 2 repetitive, just like the practice. I think there's 2 cheapest link, 2 nearest repetitive nearest neighbor, like maybe 3 regular nearest neighbor, probably something like that. All right, so again, so is everybody good with that basic start game? I think if you start in the right direction, you'll flow just fine. So again, nearest neighbor, they'll tell you where to start. Repetitive nearest neighbor, you got to repeat. You're going to start at every city. And then cheapest link is where you start anywhere on the map and you just find the lowest number anywhere on the map and second lowest number, third lowest number, like that. All right, so let's get going. So they're on part number 1 here, or question number 1. They're saying do nearest neighbor starting from Memphis. See what I mean about how they tell me where to start? I don't need to guess or anything. I don't have a choice or anything like that. Just boom, right at Memphis. I have to start at Memphis. Okay. So, and that's what I'm saying, start where they tell you. So I will start at Memphis. Okay. So how do I start at Memphis? What am I going to do? Well, that means I look at the Memphis. I take the Memphis row, and I just look across at the numbers for Memphis, and I'm going to take the nearest neighbor. So in other words, how far is it from Memphis to Atlanta? 371 miles. How far is it from Memphis to Dallas? 452 miles, etc. So which neighbor is nearest to Memphis? The 371. That's the lowest number, huh? Is it making sense so far? So that's the nearest neighbor. Notice I can't pick the lowest number anywhere because that would be something like maybe the 243. I think that's the lowest number. That's what you do with cheapest link. We'll get to that one in a minute. But see, everybody see the difference? So with nearest neighbor, you have to start at Memphis. You have to start there. So you're only looking at neighbors that connect to Memphis. Whereas when you get to the cheapest link method, that's where you look at the whole map, anywhere. and just pick the lowest number you see anywhere, and that'd be the 243. And we'll do that in a minute. Everybody see that difference in the basic game plan? So with nearest neighbor, you're starting somewhere, and you just go to your neighbor. So, okay, so I'll do that one first. 371, that's my nearest neighbor. So I'm going to, and I think it's helpful to write it as you go, especially these ones that have the chart. There'll be one with a chart, just like this on the real thing. So I'll go Memphis to Atlanta, and I'll just make a chart as we go, because since there's no map to look at, I think this will help you. Okay, next, now I'm in Atlanta, right? I've traveled from Memphis to Atlanta. Now I'm starting my trip to see all the cities, right? Now I'm in Atlanta, and I'm going to go to another city, and which one? Whichever's nearest to me. It's always your nearest neighbor. So I'm in Atlanta right now, and so all I'm going to do is look across at the Atlanta numbers and find out who's nearest to me from Atlanta. Who's nearest? Well, it's Memphis again, but I can't go back to Memphis. That wouldn't be a trip visiting all the cities, so I can't do that. So what's next? Cheapest then? Yeah, it looks like Houston. They're close, aren't they? But Houston is the next nearest neighbor. Yeah, so we'll go to Houston. So Houston. Is this making sense? Now we're at Houston. What's the next nearest neighbor? It is, oh yeah, for sure Dallas, huh? For sure Dallas, 243. Like that. Is that good to there? Keep going. Now we're at Dallas. Who's the next nearest neighbor? See, it would be Houston again, but we can't go back to Houston, 243. You guys see what I'm doing? I'm just going through the lowest number and moving up the line. Next would be 452 to Memphis, but I can't go back to Memphis. I haven't seen all the cities yet. Right? How many cities are there altogether? 6. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have to do all the cities, and we've only got 4 of them, so we have 2 more to go. So I can't. I'm in Dallas. I can't do the Memphis option because that would go back, and I would have a loop with only 4 cities. I gotta get all 6. So I can't do this. So just cross this one off. Cross this one off. Those are the lower numbers, but I can't do those. I got to go to a new city. What's the next lowest number? Yeah, 489, Kansas City. Let's go KC, Kansas City. Is that good so far? Now, at this point, I only have 1 city left. Remember when you only have 1 city left? You don't even need to mess around with the numbers, huh? You got to go to that city, and you got to go home. There's really no other choices. You guys tracking with you? I don't want you to waste a bunch of time when you're down to 1 city. If you just have 1 city left, doesn't matter what the numbers are. You've got to go to that city. You got to go home. So what's the last city? What's the only city I haven't been to? Denver. So you got to go to Denver, and then from Denver, it goes back to Memphis. You could draw a loop the other way if you want, however you want to say it. It's got to go. It's got to go back to Memphis to make a loop. To go back home, right? We're making a loop, right? We started from Memphis and we returned back home at the end. So there it is. Is that pretty good? Now, which of those answers is it? Denver, Atlanta, Houston. Or no, Memphis, Atlanta, Houston. Memphis, Atlanta, Houston. This one? No. Dallas, Kansas City, Denver. Yeah, that's it. C, huh? So the answer is C on that. Is that good? Feel like that's good for the exam. When is our exam? Is it Thursday? Yeah. Oh, it is? Yeah. All right. Good. So let me know. I'm anxious to see a group just ace this thing. I don't see why you couldn't. I mean, but I know the methods get confused, so I really want to straighten it out for you. Does that make sense then? Then we'll go to cheapest link. I know that's what's confusing when they mix, huh? Yeah.
I know we can bring a 3x5 card. Would we be able to bring like a transparent sheet to put over so we can do something like what you do to mark off so we don't have to?
You can write right on the test.
But then you can only use it like one time.
Oh, yeah. Do you bring a pen and a pencil or something like that? Different colors or something on that?
So no clear sheets?
Yeah, I don't want a bunch of other materials. I'm sorry. Then I have to look them all over and make sure there's no secret notes. Yeah. So, all right. So there's number 1. So that's nearest neighbor. Now let's go on to number 2. Okay. So let's do number 2. Now, cheapest link. Now, for cheapest link, it's different than nearest neighbor. And especially the start. Again, I think if you start in the right direction, you'll be fine. So how does cheapest link start differently than nearest neighbor?
You just start from the lowest number no matter where it's at.
That's it. It's all about like anywhere, right? Everybody catching that difference? Cheapest link means cheapest, lowest number anywhere. It doesn't have to be start. I think people get confused and they see that all the answers have Memphis and they think they have to start at Memphis or something. You don't. Remember, once we have the loop, we'll just rewrite it starting from Memphis. You can always rewrite a loop. So don't be thrown off by that on the exam. I think that's what gets people. So you just go anywhere. Let me write that again. Put that on your 3x5 card. It's start at the lowest anywhere on the map. That's what's different. Whereas nearest neighbor, you had to, let me go back in. Nearest neighbor, you had to start where they told you. They told you Memphis. You had to start at Memphis. That's different, right? All right, so now that you know that, what's the lowest number? And by the way, all the numbers are repeated below the diagonal and above. So it might be good, just to cross off all these. The ones above, because there's two sets of the numbers. Everybody see what I mean? They're repeats. Because this is like Kansas City to Atlanta here, and this is Atlanta to Kansas City there. See, same number. It's just the two cities connecting. Am I confusing you? Those are all the same numbers above and below the diagonal here. The diagonal, right? Like Denver to Atlanta. Denver to Atlanta is 1,398 miles, but Atlanta to Denver, same number there, because that's still the same two cities. That's a connection between Atlanta and Denver, listed two different ways. So that's why they're all listed twice, right? So when it comes to nearest neighbor, cheapest link, since we're going to cross them off, I think it might be helpful. You don't have to, but it might be helpful to just scribble out half the chart and just work with half of it so you don't accidentally use the same number twice or something because they're all listed twice. Okay, here we go. So I look at all the numbers, and I pick the lowest number anywhere on the map. What's the lowest number anywhere on the map? 243. So then now you need to write that connection. That's Houston to Dallas, isn't it? Doesn't matter which one you put first or how exactly you write. Just put a connection line between Houston and Dallas. You're just saying that's going to be one of my links, one of my roads is the Houston to Dallas road. Okay. Now you just go up the line. What's the next lowest number? What's just above 243? Anywhere. Again, it's anywhere. It doesn't have to be from Houston or Dallas. You look anywhere. Cheapest link, we're always looking anywhere. What's that one? Yeah, I think you're right. The 371, isn't that? Let's say, look careful. It's easy to miss one. Yeah, I think you're right. Yep. Look them all over. 371 is the next lowest number. So let's write that. Now, you just write Memphis to Atlanta. Doesn't matter which one's left or right. It's all good. Just keep going. Now you might wonder, well, how are they going to connect up? We'll figure that out later. Let's just keep going. What's the next lowest number up there? Yeah, I think it's the 451, huh? 451. Just going from the bottom up, just trying to get the lowest roads to connect them up. So what's that? That's Memphis to Kansas City. Now, how am I going to do that? We've already got, now, I'm not going to, don't do this. Watch this. This would be wrong. Don't write Memphis, Kansas City. Why not? That's what I did in the other two. Why is that suddenly wrong? Because I've already got Memphis up there. You don't want two Memphises. There's only one Memphis, right? So just connect to the Memphis you've already got. Just go like that, or however. Yeah.
Wait, so you're going Houston to Dallas and Dallas to Memphis, and then Memphis.
No, I'm not doing Dallas. So
you're just doing pairs of two.
That's right.
Okay.
Just doing pairs of two. Yeah, exactly. So that's what's different from nearest neighbor, huh? Nearest neighbor, we kept going from city to city, and then from that city we look for the next. Whereas cheapest link, we're just looking everywhere, all the time. See that difference? So good. So now we have kind of like one little chain piece here and one little chain piece there. They'll eventually all link up, but that's all we have so far. What's the next lowest number up there? 452. Okay, and that's Memphis to Dallas. Now, do I already have Memphis and Dallas up there? I do, so I'm not going to write a new Memphis. There's only one Memphis. There's only one Dallas. Just make a connection between Memphis and Dallas. Little connection. But that's not allowed. Do you remember the rule for cheapest link? There's two no-nos or two never-nevers, right? For For cheapest link, let me write it over here. For or maybe put it up here. For cheapest link, we had, I called it Never Neverland. We had two nevers. Never, number one, never have 3 lines hit one city. See how that's 1, 2, 3 hits on Memphis? Can't do that. Why not? Well, because if you're making a loop, you're only going to go into a city once and out of a city once. If you're making a trip, visiting all the cities, you're not going to go to a city 3 times. Just 2 hits on any city, for a loop. So, yeah, let's get rid of that. What do we do then? Well, you just cross it off. It's important that we looked at it, so we need to cross it off, so we don't get it again on accident, but it's not allowed. Let's keep going. What's the other never? By the way, there's one other. You can't have 3 lines hitting a city, and what else can't you do? Yeah, never make a loop. Never make a loop with not all the cities, right? Because you're trying to get all 6 cities. So if you ever closed a loop that only had 4 of the cities or 5 of the cities, don't do that because you're trying to get all the cities. So just as long as you just watch out for those 2 things, it'll be good. It'll all work out. Never have 3 lines hitting a city. Never make a loop too early without all the cities. Okay, well, let's keep going. So last number we looked at was 452. So just keep going up the line. What's the next highest number? 489, I think. Right? Am I missing something? Yeah, that's it. Huh? So 489. Now, is that one okay? Let me let you, on your own papers, give you a second, make that connection, and then tell me if that's okay or not okay. I'll give you a second. So that's a connection, 489, between Kansas City and Dallas, right? So go ahead and draw it on your little connection. I already have Kansas City right here, Dallas up there. Is that okay, that connection I just made? Well, if you say it's not okay, tell me why not. Here's the 2 not okays. Which one of those not okays is it breaking?
Crossover.
What's that?
It's crossing over from Kansas City to Dallas.
I don't see a never rule that says never cross over. No. So which one of these never rules is it breaking? None. It's fine. There's no problem with that, right? It doesn't make 3 hit any one city, right? There's only 2 hitting Kansas City. There's only 2 hitting Dallas. So that's good. So it's not 3 lines hitting any one city, right? Like the other, when I had the other one coming down to Memphis, or wherever it was, Memphis, that was 3 hits on Memphis. So that was why we rejected that one, huh? This is not 3 hits on any city. It's just 2, and it's not making a loop yet. It's not closed yet. It's still got 2 open ends. It's like we're making a chain, and we still have 2 open ends. What are the 2 open ends, by the way? What are the 2 ends that only have 1 link? They don't have their other side linked. Everybody see the 2 open ends? Atlanta and Houston, exactly. So keep your eyes on those. Those are the 2 open ends, aren't they? Everything else has 2 links. Everything else is already linked up. But those 2 are our open ends. We're going to eventually close them down. Right? So far, so good? Is it all good? Anything else I can answer on that? That makes sense? Okay, so let's keep going. So what's the next? Well, actually, you know what? At this point, we can stop because we only have 1 city left. Right? We don't need to keep looking at numbers forever and ever. We have 5 cities all linked up, 6 cities total. So if I said, hey guys, you got a chain, got 2 open ends and there's 1 more link. Put it together. Well, you gotta connect to that link, don't you? There's nothing else to do. So what's the last city we haven't gone to yet? Denver. It's always Denver, huh? Denver. So we have to go to and who's going to connect to Denver? They're the 2 open ends, huh? It can't be anybody but Houston and Atlanta because they're the only ones available for another hit. All the rest have 2 hits on them. All the rest are full.
About Kansas State, why are Houston and Atlanta still open?
So Kansas City has 2 lines hitting it.
Right.
So he's full. Right? Because we can't have another hit on Kansas City. That'd be 3.
Oh, I get what you mean.
Does that make sense? So 2 hits, you're full. Can't have a 3rd hit, because that's one of the never rules. Never have 3 hits on a city. Yeah, so Kansas City's full. Memphis has 2 hits on him. Dallas has 2 hits on him. But Houston's only hit on one side. His other side's open. And Atlanta's only hit on one side. His other side's open. Those are the 2 that have an open side, ready to link up to our last city. Is that good? That making sense? So yeah, so just put Denver wherever you want. I'll just maybe squeeze it in here. And boom, they'll both hit Denver. Does that make sense? I'm going to do a little better job on that. So boom and boom. So they both hit Denver, and there it is. We've made a loop connecting all 6 cities. So now the trick is we have to rewrite that, because all the answers on number 2 start with Memphis. We could rewrite that loop starting with any city, but we just need to do it with Memphis because they all start with Memphis. So let's do that. Let's rewrite that link. Are you okay with doing that kind of thing? You just start at Memphis and just, go in a circle. So Memphis is first. What do I guess? I'll start here at Memphis, and then you can go right or left, doesn't matter. I'll go right to Atlanta. What comes next? Follow the link to Denver next. Yeah. Denver. What comes next? Houston. What comes next? Dallas. Follow it down here. What comes next? Kansas City. You okay? Am I going too quick? You see what I'm doing? Just following the links there. And follow it up. Back to Memphis. See how I just followed the links around the loop there? Now the trick is, though, guys and gals, they can do this forward or backwards. So I don't want you to be tricked by that. So you've got to watch out. So what I would probably do when I get an answer is just really quickly write it backwards also, and then look for either one, because it's the same loop, forward or backward, So what I mean is, well, you don't have to rewrite it. You can just look for it forward and look for it backwards. So let's see. Is it here? Memphis, Dallas? No. Memphis, Atlanta? Yeah, so far so good. Houston? No. It's supposed to be Memphis, Atlanta, Denver. Memphis, Atlanta, Denver? Yeah, that's good. Houston? No. Memphis, Atlanta, Denver, Houston? Yeah, that's good. Kansas City? No, it's supposed to be Dallas. It's none of those. Careful, though. I better look for it backwards, too. Everybody see what I'm doing? I'm just trying to find it. It's not working. It's almost D. It's close to D, but not quite. Right? It followed D for a while. Memphis, Atlanta, Denver, Houston. Memphis, Atlanta, Denver, Houston. But then the next one was Kansas City instead of Dallas. So it's not D, but how about backwards? How about starting Memphis and go Kansas City, Dallas, Houston, Denver, like that way? Is it there that way? Because it might be there backwards. That's the same loop. So be careful. So Memphis, Kansas City? No, there's no Memphis, Kansas City anywhere. So it's none of these, which is disturbing. So is that okay? Did you track with that?
On the Scantron, it says 3 all around 2.
Yeah, 2. Yeah. You might be thinking, I could have guessed none of these a long time ago. So is that okay? Yeah, so I don't know, would it help you to write them backwards? Maybe you should just write all your answers forwards and backwards. You know what I mean? Just to say, okay, here it is forwards. Now I'm going to write it backwards. Memphis, Kansas City, and then Dallas, and then Houston, and then Denver, and then Atlanta, and then back to Memphis. Because forwards, and just look for both of them. Because forwards or backwards, both are the right answer, but neither of them is there. So it's none of the above. Is that good? So that goes for all these methods. Same loop, forwards or backwards is the same loop. So look for both forward and backwards answers. All right, so everybody see the difference then between those methods? Nearest neighbor, you have to start where they told you, like they said Memphis, But cheapest lane, you look anywhere, don't you, on that? Other questions on that? So those are the main 2. Those are really the main. So how about number 5? So number 5, Want me to give you a second to start? So why don't you do a step or two, and then I'll jump in. Cheapest link. Let's do number 5. See if you can get the cheapest link started. So, cheapest link. Cheapest link, do we start from a certain city with cheapest link, or do we look everywhere? Look anywhere. Lowest number anywhere, huh? So whereas nearest neighbor, you have to start from a certain city. So this is cheapest link, which means you just find the lowest number anywhere. So what's the lowest number anywhere you see? The 1, huh? So go ahead and take that road, first off. And since they have a map, you can just draw it right on the map. I think that's probably rather than making like a new map or something. I think you just draw it right on there. Probably the easiest thing. Good. Whereas when they gave me the table a minute ago, I didn't really have a map to look at, so I kind of made my own map. But if they give you a picture, just use their picture. So there's the first number. What's the next lowest number? The 2. Is that okay? Sure. Yeah. I don't have 3 hitting any city yet. We're okay. Okay. What's the next lowest number? 4. Is that okay to take that 4? No, because that's 3 lines hitting C. See how that's more than full there, right? You can't have 3 links on any one chain, just 2 links. So I can't take that road, right? That's not allowed. Does that make sense? Everybody good with that? Can't have 3 hits on any city. So no, can't do that. Okay, so go up the line. What's the next one I could take then? So cross that off. We've looked at that. Can't have it. Next number's the 5, right? Boom. Is that one okay? Sure. That's not 3 lines hitting anybody. That's fine. That's good. Good. And now what's the next number? The 8. But I can't take that 8, can I? Because that 8, if I did that'd be 3 hits on D, wouldn't it? Can't have that. So then there's only one left. It's the 9. And that makes our loop, and that hits all the cities. That's it. So now we need to write that out, starting with A. And I would write it forwards and backwards and look for both those answers. So go ahead. So take that loop line you just wrote and start at A, because all the answers start with A. So start at A and go around the loop like clockwise, and then go down the loop counterclockwise. And then to the right and then to the left. So starting up here at A, go to the right. That would be D, C, B, back to A. That good how I followed that? Let's go to the right.
Okay.
So I just started at A, because they all start with A. I had to start at A. And then I just followed the links. I went D, just followed this road to D. As opposed to, I could have gone the other way down this way, you mean?
Yeah.
Totally. We're going to do both.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to do both. So I just happened to go right first, but you could go left first. Yeah, so we're going to make the circle both ways.
Okay.
Yeah, so then once you got one of them, just go the other way. So A, or just rewrite this one backwards. See, that's the same loop, same circle, forwards and backwards. So either one of those would be a right answer, a good answer. So do we see those?
So on the test, we have to make sure we write both of them.
Yeah, forwards
One of them
and
works.
back. Both directions. Correct. Yeah, because both would be. They won't give you both answers. They'll just do one,
Just do one.
or maybe they'll do none of the above. But yeah, they're both correct. Either one would be correct. Do we see it? A, D, C. Oh yeah, it's right there. It's D, huh? It's that first one. A, D, C, B, A. Is that okay? Questions I can answer on that? And now for number 6, the worst of all the methods, repetitive nearest neighbor. So, okay, let's go back to that last screen. What did I say for repetitive? Somewhere I said it. There it is. Repetitive nearest neighbor, you've got to repeat starting at every city. You've got to repeat starting at every city. So, here, let me go to a fresh screen. Yeah, so for repetitive nearest neighbor, so that means you've got to start at A, start at B, so I'll bring it up here. Start at C and start at D. You've got to do like a whole nearest neighbor thing 4 times for repetitive nearest neighbor. Hence the name, repetitive. Is that making sense? So each time we're doing nearest neighbor. In other words, we're not looking at the whole map and just picking the lowest number anywhere. We're starting from a definite location each time. So in the first run, we're starting at A. So if you're starting at A, if you're right here at point A, D is 5 away from you, C is 4 away from you, and B is 9 away from you. Those are your 3 neighbors, right? Those are the 3 roads you could take to a neighbor. So which one is your nearest neighbor? The 4. So starting from A, my nearest neighbor would be C. Now, on this one, guys, this one not only is tedious, you got to repeat it 4 times, you've also got to put the numbers. You don't have to do the numbers on the other ones. But on these, you have to put the numbers. Why? Because we have to add them all up and pick the lowest one in the end. Whereas the other 2 methods, we don't care what the numbers are. You know, we don't need to write them down. But this method is doubly painful. You got to repeat it with all of them, and you got to do all the numbers too, because in the end we're going to add up the 4 answers and pick the lowest one. So A to C is a 4-mile road, and now we're at C. We started at A. Now we're at C. And what's the who's the nearest neighbor from C? D, which is 1. D is a 1. So D for 1. Now we're at D. Once you've only got 1 city left, there's no choice, huh? Doesn't matter what the number is. You have to go to that last city, and you have to go home because you got to make a loop with all the cities. So you have to go to B for 8, and you have to go home for 9. So what does that add up to be? 10, 8, 22. I just added up those numbers. 4, I just added up 4 plus 1 plus 8 plus 9, and it's 22. So that loop is a loop that costs 22 miles to make that loop. We're looking for the lowest one. So now can you start from B and do it again? Start from B, do it again, and then start from C. Keep going. Feel free to check with those around you. See if you're getting the same answer. So starting at B, if you start at B here, who's the nearest neighbor from B? C, which is 2. And then from C it's D, which is 1. And then at that point, you've only got 1 city left, so you got to go to that city, which is A for 5, and you got to go home, which is back to B, which is 9. Add those up, it's 17, isn't it? Guys getting those? Try the other 2. Maybe you already have. So start at C. Finishing up okay? So starting at C, the lowest number is D for 1, and then A for 5, and then, well, we've only got one city left. So I've got to go to B, which is 9, and I got to go home back to C, which is 2, and that's 17 again. Which means those are really the same loop, just in a different order. We'll straighten that out later. So now we got to do D. So see how with repetitive, you've got to repeat starting in every city. One more to go. Start at D and do the nearest neighbor loop. So start at D. So my nearest neighbor is C, which is 1, and then B, which is 2. And at that point, I've only got one city left. So I have to go to that city and go home. I got to go to A for 9, and I got to go home 5 to D. What is that? 17 again, which means those last 3 are the best answers. They're tied. They're all 3 really the same loop. I'll show you why. See how they're all 17, 17, 17? So the first answer, that one where we started at A, that's not it, because that took 22. We're supposed to take the lowest one, right? We want the loop that's least cost. That's the point of this whole chapter, is the way to visit all the cities with the least cost. So the 17. Now, which one of those should I use? They're all the same. Let me prove it to you. How do we find our answer? Well, notice all the answers have been rewritten, starting with A. But students who don't really have all this down, they come to this question and they look and they see they all start with A, so they only do the A one and they get the wrong answer. So don't do that. Does everybody see that? Everybody see the difference? You can't. This test really kills those who just look at answers and try to just let the answer teach them. It just demolishes them, because the answers have all been rewritten. That won't work at all on this test. I wouldn't even look at the answers until you've got the whole thing solved. They're just going to fool you, because they've all been rewritten. I'm not trying to fool you. I'm telling you straight. Don't do that, right? That's just what I've seen over the years. It just tanks them, this chapter 6 loop stuff. So is this good? I'm hoping this is the time. I'm taking more time than I ever have before. I just really realized that this summer, when I taught this summer, how hard this particular chapter is for people. Less time on the voting stuff. That's easy for people. So is that good then? Is that making sense? So we have to rewrite these now. Well, we're not done yet, are we? We have to rewrite these starting with A, because all the answers are A. But that doesn't mean I take the A one. Right? Everybody see that difference? This has been rewritten. Repetitive, when you see the word repetitive, you don't think I'm just going to do A. You think I'm going to repeat. I'm going to do A, B, C, and D. And then the best, lowest number I'm going to rewrite starting with A. Okay, which one? Well, let's grab this one first up. Let's rewrite him starting with A. How do we do that? We'll start at A. And go to the right or go to the left. It doesn't really matter. Remember, you're going to go both ways. It's the same loop either way. So start at A, go right, D. And then that swings over to this D, C, B, A. Did I lose you? So I just took this loop and I said, look, A, next comes D, and then D loops back to itself, right? Same D here. C, B, A. See how I did that?
The D to the D is a little funny.
Yeah, because really what that is, really there's not 2 Ds.
No, I get it.
Really it's like this.
It's just not pretty.
Does that make sense? It's really looping around to the other D. We just don't usually want to write another loop.
So you're going to have 2 A's instead of 2 D's then now.
Right. But if that bugs you, just go like this, because it's still just a loop. I'm just saying those 2 are the same loop. They're the same loop. See how they really are the same loop? Start A, D, C, B. A, D, you see it's just the same loop, huh? They're exactly the same loop, just listed in a different order. Just starting the circle at a different spot. It's the same merry-go-round, you just got on a different horse. Right? I mean, that's what it is. You're still going around the same loop. That good? So, yeah, so put that A back on there. Put that D back, because that's just how it's usually listed. So that now, also write it backwards. Remember how we always want to write them backwards? Let me write it backwards. A, now go backwards. A, B, C, A, B, C, D, A. So that's the same loop again, the merry-go-round going forward and going backwards. That's the same loop. Now, is that answer here? One of those answers there?
That ADC.
Oh, there it is. It's answer C, isn't it? ADCBA. ADCBA. There it is.
The Scantron says it's D.
Uh-oh. Number 6?
Yeah. Oh, number 5.
Oh, this is number 6 we just did.
Oh.
Yeah, good. Made me nervous there. Yeah. It's all good. We have the right answer. Is that okay? Now, if I was you, I'd have the question. Now, Mr. Rain, you said to us that, this is the same answer. It is. Yeah, you could have done that one because they're all 17, huh? When they come out the same number, that means they're the same loop, just a different order. See, so if you would say, well, I'm going to take this one and rewrite it, you'll get the same answer in the end. Here, let's do it. Let's start at A and go to the right. A, go right. B, go right. C, remember what we do? What do we do there, Johnny? Jump on back, right? Jump on back where I got lost. Where am I? A, B. Is that a C at the end? It looks funny now. A, B, C, and then jump back over here. C, D, and back to A. See how this answer is the same as that answer right there? And if you wrote it backwards, A, D, C, B, A, that answer is the same as that answer? See, it's the same loop, isn't it? Those are all the same loop, just starting in a different place. Those last 3 are the same loop, starting in different places on the merry-go-round. So any of them will work. Any of them can be turned into the correct answer if you rewrite them starting with A. So we good on that? Everybody see the difference? Between cheapest link, so again, cheapest link, you start anywhere, huh? You look at the whole map. Whereas nearest neighbor, you start at one specific spot. Repetitive nearest neighbor, you start at every spot. Repeating is the deal. All right. Because I would like to do it again, since that's for sure the thing that really gets people on this exam is all them loop questions. All right, number of Hamilton circuits. What's the number of Hamilton circuits? You should put a formula on your 3x5 card. The number of circuits is n-1 factorial. So that's the formula for that. Okay, and they're giving me 100, so just plug 100 in there. Be 100 minus 1 factorial, which is 99 factorial. Do you have your calculator? If you take 99 and hit the exclamation point, do you have the exclamation point in your calculator? Did you find that? Grab me after class if you've never found that. I think I went around and helped a lot of you find it last time we went over this. So like I said, grab me after class if you want help with that. Anyway, if you hit that button on your calculator, it'll usually say something like overflow or air or... Yeah. It's just, you know what that means? It's crazy big. It makes the national debt look like chump change. It's just crazy big. So it's more than a Google. You guys know what a Google is? Google the website. Google website is a math thing. The person that started that had a math degree. Google means 1 with 100 zeros. That's what a Google is. So when the person named the website Google, he was saying this thing is going to go out to tons of sites instantaneously. That's the whole point of the name Google. There you go. That's worth the price of admission, right? Google means 1 with 100 zeros. So that's a very, very large one. This is even bigger than that. So the point is it's more than a billion. Way more than a billion. It's D. That good on that? So just use the formula n-1 factorial. Now, I might give you one on the test, I don't even remember, that is much smaller and reasonable. I might say, 10 vertices instead of 100, 10 cities. Then you would just go 10 minus 1 factorial, which is 9 factorial, and you can hit the buttons on your calculator, you'd get a more reasonable answer on that. Question, Johnny?
On the number 10, why wouldn't it be none of these if it's like...
Well, it's more than a billion, though. So it's really, really big. It's not craziness. It is a number. It's just a really, really big number. So it is more than a billion. So it's not in the millions. It's not in the hundreds. It's not in the thousands. It's more than a billion. That is a true statement. It's way more than a billion. All right, good. So remember that formula, though. It's n minus 1 factorial for the number of circuits. Put that in 3 by